Hello and welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the Cambridge Los Angeles show in West Hollywood, and I'm here with Eliane Lima with her movie, Sherry. Let's take a look at a clip. Now, for those that haven't seen Sherry, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Well, first of all, the classification of a documentary was a little bit complicated because even myself, when I was editing the film, I was not quite sure, is this really a documentary or not? And I decided to explore, the private life of Robert Sherry. And he uses this name as like the combination of being henna female behind the mask and Sherry when he dresses as a doll. And it's basically like my film is about his daily life. Like he wakes up every morning and dresses up as Sherry and walks around the house as Sherry and takes pictures of himself. And later on, I discovered that he has tons of like series of pictures series, like he takes pictures of himself, and you saw that last night.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Honestly, I think your film is one of the most fascinating films I've ever seen.
Wow, thank you.
You know, it's so unique, so different, and such a world that most people probably have never seen before. Where did the inspiration start for you, where you thought, where you met, Robert Sherry, and you decided, like, I want to make a film out of this? When was that moment?
Well, I met Robert Sherry thanks to Lucrecia Martel. She came to Cal Arts. I was a student there. It was my very first semester, California Institute of the Arts in Santa Clarita. And she took us to his house. And what they have is like a series of weekly workshops. And she was there with us for a week, and then one day she took us to his house. We did this little field trip, and the very first time when I saw the house, it's something between the house also being a character, and I was already fascinated. And the movie begins and finishes in the pool because everything starts in the pool. I was sitting there all day because the kids was fighting with who's going to use the equipment, etc. And I was just like sitting by the pool reading Sadomasoch. You believe it or not?
That's amazing.
And then later he came out as Sherry. And I really kind of blow my mind because I always had mannequins in my movies. And when I saw
Oh, really?
Sherry,
So, yeah, there you go, yeah.
When I saw Sherry, I was just like, wow, this is, for me, a little bit dream come true.
Yeah.
That was exactly how I met him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's such a fascinating way of living. Like, it really is. It's very intriguing. Like, and you as a filmmaker, you really go into you go into a lot of detail about the kind of lifestyle, and there's some very intimate moments and scenes. Like, how do you go about? Did you have an idea of what you were going to go into? Did you kind of let it free flow with whatever Sherry was going to give you?
Yeah.
How did that flow go for you? Was there kind of a plan of action, or did you just kind of follow the camera with certain situations and scenarios?
Yeah. Well, I usually, when I make movies, I do not write scripts. I only wrote kind of the outline script when George Kuchar was my actor when he was alive, and Sherry is dedicated to him. Like on all my work, like on the I Want to George, like on the especially the exploration of sexuality. But back to your question, like on the what I was saying. What do you say? What do you ask? Sorry, I got
No, with regards to
if you got it before, I only write like on the kind of the outlines.
I love that. I love that. By the way, I think it's great. It gives room for exploration.
Yeah, and what I really do is like a kind of lookbook. I take pictures. Like on the photography is something like that is very related. Also, all the artists with my work. Before I take pictures. and after I do installation. I always play with this idea of framing differently, and also like a different spaces and how to explore, you know, the space of the frame or the space of the gallery, etc., etc. Anyway, I took pictures, I did a lookbook, and my initial idea was only showing Robert becoming a woman. I was fascinated with this idea of becoming, and you know, like, and explored also the gender was behind the mask. But and after a while, I got bored with that, and I was just like, oh, I'm in trouble. I do not have a movie, and I went back to his house, and I was just like almost like a kind of the, you know, let her go. But I said, like, do you do something else? I don't know. I had this intuition to ask him, like, you do something else besides just like he dress up and taking pictures by the pool? And he say, hell yeah. And this is what I do. And he showed me 20 years of picture series, like millions of pictures he has in his computer. And now he's putting on a website, so I helped him to figure out the Wix thing. and he has also the Facebook page. But and then I was just like, okay, now I have a movie, and we decided we choose some pictures series, and we reenact that for the camera. That was basically the structure. Of course, that I had 70 hours of material for the editing, and it was a big trouble for me, even like to go through the material. But
and you know, it's, you know, has. I think obviously again it's you're just, you know, pretty much taking your visuals and sort of, you know, understanding them, and you take us on quite a journey of like of his life, his daily life, what he's experienced, things that he's been through, you know, and some things are you know, are quite things you wouldn't necessarily expect, and I love how you just, you know, brought the essence of sexuality, but sort of, you know, showcasing it in a very naturalistic way, that felt very, you know, it felt comfortable to sort of understand and watch, because you just felt him. It was great to feel him just happy in Sherry, you know, and that this is kind of was so much part of who he was and who he is, and that was comforting, particularly in this day and age as well, is that, you know, we have to grow stronger and be more understanding and accepting of people's sexualities and what they feel. And I think what was so great is you captured this, and probably a world that we never really knew, you know, that existed, and you were able to capture that. Was there any difficult challenges that you had, apart from obviously trying to create the story? Was there moments when you were filming or even in post-production that were difficult for you to capture?
Yeah, well, let me think. For me, it was like more exploring, like, you know, like the unknown of his words, because he had the generosity of letting me get inside of his words, and you know, like not only like you know, in the house also, I already said that for me it was also a character, and for me it was like almost like a mystery. Everything is around Robert has some kind of mystery, but what fascinates me is like how truly he is with his own desires, and even if he has to, you know, infringe pain in himself, and he does. You see that in the movie when he got inside of the bucket for an entire day, and he could not move it out, and I was cruel enough to do not help him, just filmed. You know, I did that. Sorry, Robert. But I thought it was important to show that, because I saw in different things. The structure was like not really a structure. It was more like my curiosity. That was why I decided to edit the movie in the way that it's not show and tell. Usually a documentary is a show and tell.
That's right.
My movie is see and show. I just show what I saw.
I think it's very important to understand and realize that that's what you did. I certainly felt that by watching it. And I think one thing I loved about how your style of filmmaking, what you do, is that you just left the camera there where most cameras would cut away. And that was powerful, that you just kept the visual perspective of this world and this life. And because some people, filmmakers, are too afraid to sort of show the real truth of something, understanding, I mean, as you just explained, was that something that was important to you, that you didn't just like, oh, okay, and now we go over here, that you actually just focused in on the actual subject?
Yeah, and I love that you say that, because I believe like in the, you know, like in the, it's not like in the you cannot just like pass by life.
Yeah.
And you know, like in the when you, it's almost like you know, I was observing. It's like a kind of observational documentary, and when you do that, you have to breathe, like, and you have to take the time, and if the camera is my eye, and you know, like, and I have to give this kind of breathing for the camera, like it has to stay there, and have to look and have to feel that, like, and that was the reason I was going slow, and of course with the music of James Purley, that is an amazing composer. He worked with Paulino Oliveiras. He always worked with me, and my best
Very
friend.
fortunate.
Yeah, very fortunate. Like, and you know, he also recreated the same rhythm of the camera and the music. Yeah.
What's it? I mean, you know, you've had you know, great success at film festivals, at New Filmmakers LA. What's it like to have your film out there to a wider audience and for people to see it? And what sort of feedback have you got from it? What has that been like for you?
Well, this film is having like an amazing life, and hopefully it's gonna keep going. Like, and it's almost like no ends for Sherry, and I'm very, you know, thankful for that. I think it's amazing people see, like, and not only like for me, sounds pretentious, like, and it's not that I want to create a different language, but you know, I'm exploring this territory of a documentary, and you know, I'm an experimental filmmaker, you know, for real. But for real, you know, I'm kind of
you're totally for real, don't you worry.
But I kind of exploring this documentary, you know, territory that I really like, you know, think that is important. People seeing that is not about true. It's about life, and it has some kind of the beauty and what is false and what's true, like, and you know, like in this double thing. I also had a friend who wrote an article, and it's being published in the Journal of the Philosophy in Bulgaria, and he wrote something very interesting. Like, he was like analyzing Sherry about the idea of the one and the other, and like the one, like, and there's only one name for many variations of Sherry, and the other, the idea that is the mannequins, is him behind the mask, and that was like very smart of him seeing that. And for me, what it is important for the audience to have the experience to see my movie is exactly that, like having curiosity first of Robert's words, but and also provoke some kind of thoughts, because it's a very complex territory. Like his life is very complex. The idea of desire, the genders,
everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
It's a fascinating journey. It's great when you've got people internationally giving you, you know, a philosophical, you know, opinion about what they feel, and that's just is a credit to you and your great work. What is next for you?
Well, I'm preparing another documentary about the LA character there called Miss Mist, and we already have the agreement that we are making this documentary, and also it's going to be like probably less than 20 minutes, especially because of festivals rules. Like, I ended up noticing that having a movie of 24 minutes is not a good idea.
It's like taboo. It's like terrible. I know it's awful.
Like
what's wrong? I know.
I know. But you know, I was cut off in a lot of festivals because it was more than 20 minutes. Now I learned my lesson. And or you go 20 minutes, or maybe you go future. But I'm also like with this idea that after Miss Mist, I want to do a feature film. But then I'm gonna do a of course, fictional, not documentary. Also has some kind of the play in between. It has a lot of doubles in Sherry, not only in the movie, but not only in himself, Robert Sherry, but also in the movie, because has also one huge sequence that is fiction. I make it up there, sexy scene with Linda Martinez from George Kuchar. She's George Kuchar's actress.
Oh wow, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're wonderfully talented, and you know, you have such a great vision, and it's unique. I feel like you've got a stamp on your own work, which is great, and it's really wonderful. And you're from Brazil, so what more can I say? It's just the best, right? It's
Rock
rock and roll Brazil, exactly. No, thank you very much for your work,
Thank
and
you.
we're looking forward to seeing much more of it. Thank you for bringing Sherry to us, and we look forward to the next chapters for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Abraços.
Dois beijinhos.
Beijinhos.